Marvel Cinematic Universe all phases tier list. We're gonna start with F tier, the worst Marvel movie. Are any of them F tier? Yes, Thor: The Dark World is F tier. So WandaVision's been out for a while now, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a character that they brought back from the Thor movies. My least favorite character, it's Kat Dennings' character. I think she's not funny. I think she's just kind of annoying, but my God, in Thor: The Dark World, she was the worst. Like, I hated all the side characters in that movie. Thor was not that fun. The movie just was so forgettable. The villain was like an elf guy thing. The only good part was like Loki like actually having like a arc and stuff, kind of, and losing his mother and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of good scenes with Loki specifically, but everything else is just so, it was just so meh. It's the worst MCU movie by far. Okay, so that's F tier. I think it's the only F tier movie. I think every other movie is passable. D is like 60%. F is like not even above 60. So we're gonna start first with The Incredible Hulk. It's a movie that they want you to forget exists because Edward Norton was the original Hulk. He was such a weird casting choice. He didn't work. That's why they replaced him. Also, I heard he's really difficult to work with. That's why they replaced him. But Mark Ruffalo's much better as the Hulk. The Hulk movies like on their own are always kind of boring because like the Hulk's just kind of this overpowered beast of a thing. He works really well as a side character. Like, I absolutely love how they've utilized the Hulk in the Avengers movies, Infinity War and Endgame, and in Thor Ragnarok. The way they use the Hulk in the future, phenomenal. On his own, kind of boring. The saving grace is that it introduced a very awesome recurring character. That dude with the mustache, he's the military guy. He ends up becoming the Secretary of State in the future. He's so useful. You just bring him in as like a hateable government official kind of guy. Like they use him for everything. They use him in like in a Civil War. They use him all the time. What's his name? Ross. At the end of this movie, Tony Stark comes up to General Ross and goes like, tells him about the Avengers Initiative. If you don't remember that, it's because the movie is that forgettable. Then you got Thor. They had to introduce Thor. I get it. They introduced Hawkeye. Natalie Portman is okay. Loki is okay at this point. Loki becomes good post Avengers. Once Avengers is over, Loki becomes the best. Pre-Avengers, Loki was meh. Oh, Loki's always been cool. He wasn't. Freaking love Idris Elba, dude. Idris Elba is Heimdall. I freaking love the man. That man can do no wrong. Besides that, though, everything's pretty forgettable. Iron Man 2 is at the top of D tier. You could just tell that they like shoehorned in the sequel. It's like such a necessary sequel. Iron Man 2 did a lot of things right. They introduced Don Cheadle. Awesome. Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer. I hope he comes back in Disney Plus shows or something because he's awesome. Whiplash? Not awesome. Mickey Rourke doing the worst Russian accent you ever heard. My bird. I want my bird. It introduces Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. Awesome. But it has too much Gwyneth Paltrow. Not awesome. The story is really ridiculous. Like, he invents an entire new element in his basement. Like, come on, man. Tony Stark became OP from this point on. Like, Iron Man 1, he built everything into scraps in a cave and stuff, right? Like, he was like the underdog to an extent. Like, obviously, he always was rich and a billionaire, but he was working with technologies he didn't know. It took him forever to make a suit. Second movie, I've created a new element. Sure, bro. From that point on, Tony Stark became like a god. Like, Iron Man 2 is fine. It does the job. It bridges the gap between Iron Man 1 and the rest of the MCU. It helps the Avengers movies exist. So I don't hate it. It's not F tier. It's a 60% for me. It's a D tier movie. Let's move on to C tier. The bottom of C tier, we're gonna put Ant-Man, baby. Ant-Man. I feel bad for Ant-Man because like if he came out earlier in the MCU, I feel like people wouldn't be as annoyed by it. But it's such an okay movie. Every scene that Michael Pena's in is amazing. His whole bit of him like explaining stuff is awesome. People were saying that they should have Michael Pena be the one that explains recaps for shows previously on this episode, and it's just him explaining what's going on. He's funny, so I think that they used him very well, and it's a funny movie overall. I do think Paul Rudd is a really likable character, but the villain kind of sucks. The bald dude, forget his name, he's from House of Cards. He sucks. Such a forgettable villain, honestly. The final fight was super forgettable too. It's very much the definition of C tier. It's so meh. So I'm gonna keep it there. Iron Man 3 is next. So Iron Man 3 on its own was actually had a lot of cool things going for it. The very controversial big twist that the Mandarin was a fake person or whatever. The reason why it's not that great is that it's arguably the most forgettable movie in this entire thing. Like it doesn't add anything to the overall like MCU of like as a whole. The funeral for Tony Stark, there was like a kid that was there, and I was like, who the hell is that kid? Who's this kid? Is he important? And then he was like, oh, it's the Iron Man 3 kid. Who's this kid? Nobody remembered who that kid was because Iron Man 3 is that forgettable. The downside with Iron Man 3, everything that Tony Stark learns, like he blows up all of his suits, all that other crap, right, gets thrown away in the next movie. Following movie after Iron Man 3 is like Age of Ultron. Now he's back to being Iron Man again. So Iron Man 3's entire arc for Tony was pointless because he's back to being Iron Man again. Yeah, so Iron Man 3 is it's great on its own, but as part of the MCU, it just doesn't do anything. It's pointless. And that's the sad part about it, because it has some cool moments, like especially that part where he's fighting the bare minimum technology he has. Like that scene is awesome. I love seeing Tony Stark being the underdog. Age of Ultron's pretty C tier. They didn't know what the hell to do with this one. Bunch of just like, oh, we're just like breaking a bunch of robots, like, but pretty easily. So like, they're not really that much of a threat. The reason why it's not D tier though, it introduces us to Vision. It introduces us to Wanda and Pietro. The way that they kill off Quicksilver is so stupid. To this day, it's mind-blowing. The man has the ability to run faster than a speeding bullet, but decides for absolutely no reason to just take the bullet. He's the kind of guy that can walk up to a bullet and be like, let me move the bullet here. Let me move the bullet here. Let me move a bullet over here. I understand they had to do it because of the rights, but they could have like killed him off in a more realistic way because he's Quicksilver. To make Ultron a threat, Ultron kills him or something. Like Ultron detects him, catches him, and chokes him to death right in front of Wanda. But like the way he died was just so stupid. Hawkeye should have taken the bullet. I agree. They were building up Hawkeye to take that bullet, and he did not. I don't like Hawkeye, okay? I like his family. I like that he has like these like moments, but he's not a superhero. So him being like on the same level as like the other Avengers is so stupid. Him and Black Widow, I don't get why they're there. Like, sorry, they don't have powers, bro. The introduction of very pivotal characters and the introduction of like some cool character arcs for Tony Stark to learn like about his mistakes, like that leads into Civil War, and Civil War is a way better movie. So C tier. Yeah, I'm gonna put Age of Ultron behind Ant-Man. I agree. It's bad. It establishes some important stuff, but it's bad. Then we got Ant-Man and Wasp. Easily very C tier movie. Better than Ant-Man though. I think the shenanigans with the FBI agent with Jimmy Woo is awesome. Ant-Man and Wasp is fun. It's once again, it's not important to the overall grand scheme of things, but that's okay sometimes. You want those like just self-contained movies. The way that it ties into Endgame is awesome. Like Ant-Man goes from being one of the most meh superheroes, and then in Endgame, he's like one of my favorite parts of Endgame, dude. He's so funny. He steals the show, and so like it is minimal scenes and stuff, dude. Yeah, it's a good sequel. It's better than the original, but it's still not great. It's not B tier even. It's just it's fun. It's a fun time. It's a fun, lighthearted romp. That's all I have to say about it. Jimmy Woo's the GOAT. Captain Marvel. I'm a big fan of the Skrull, so like I really liked the Skrull. And that's it. Her existence in the MCU is always going to be a hindrance to things because it's like she solo could have beat Thanos. Like it's ridiculous. Now from now on, when Spider-Man or like any people have a problem, just hit up Captain Marvel, dude. What are you doing? From now on, they literally have to explain why Captain Marvel isn't there. Always, because that's how overpowered she is. And I hate that. They never had to explain that for other characters. Where's Captain Marvel? And he goes like off planet. Then call her back on the planet, bro. If this threat is this big, why are you making Spider-Man do this, you know? She's got to protect the whole galaxy by herself. Like whatever, dude. There's like that final scene where she like blows through this huge ship, and I'm just like, Resident Sleeper in the chat, bro. That's literally how it felt. I was just like, and it just sucked. It just sucked. I wish that her powers were like Thor level, because like Thor feels beatable, but Captain Marvel doesn't feel beatable. Thor lost to Thanos pretty easily. Captain Marvel just took a punch to the face from Thanos and like didn't flinch. Like that alone was like, dude, is that not concerning to you guys? Like, sorry, that's it. That's all I have to say. Yeah, she does have a Superman problem. B tier. Captain America First Avenger, I rewatched it. It's actually pretty fun, man. It establishes Captain America very well. He's awesome, man. Like, I love that he first starts off as like a war propaganda guy, and then later, like, he finally saves the day, and then Bucky gets like lost and stuff. They use that. They set up so many things really well. Hydra, dude, Hydra's established there. Captain America is my personal favorite Avenger. A lot of people don't like him and stuff, but every time, God, Captain America's awesome to me. Like, I just always really liked Captain America. This movie definitely helped. They definitely made him look cooler. Let's look at what Captain America looks like, right? Like in the comics, look at this dumb boy, dude. Look how stupid he looks. It's like a full bodysuit. Like it doesn't look like something that anyone would want to wear, right? It's silly. He's not that cool in the comics. Honestly, he really wasn't that cool in the comics, right? They did a really good job at making Captain America cool. I was very impressed by Marvel for somehow pulling that crap off, right? Doctor Strange is pretty good. I think Doctor Strange is an underrated film for multiple reasons. It has really beautiful imagery. I hated that they cast Tilda Swinton as like the master. Why? Like, I don't get that casting choice, dude. Like the ancient one. I was like, come on, man. Your whole life when you don't see yourself featured in like film and stuff, and like I feel like a lot of people have that problem. Like you see basically just you see a bunch of white people for the most part in film. But when you finally have the option to cast someone that isn't white, and you still cast a white person, like the ancient one could have easily been Asian. Then boom, now you see a really dope, epic Asian person, dude. It's not like we're asking for much. The character is literally like in the comics is literally Asian. So like I love that Flash Thompson is played by Tony Revolori. In the comics, Flash Thompson's a white guy, but he's not coded to be white. Like he doesn't have to be white. He's just an American dude. Bullies come in all color. So they're like, let's just put Tony Revolori on it. And he's doing a great job as like a new modern cyberbully type like vibe. Mary Jane is played by Zendaya. Like that's the kind of stuff like it makes sense because the characters aren't coded to be a certain way. Like some people complain and go like, okay, then why don't they make Black Panther a white guy? It's like because Black Panther is coded to be black, meaning that his blackness is literally a part of his character. Like it's like you can't, the man is from Wakanda, and the Wakanda's as a whole history and stuff that's like important to the story. Him being a certain ethnicity, a certain race is important to the story. Mary Jane being white isn't important. She literally could be anything and it still works. That's like the difference that people don't understand, like that people have to get. Moving on, back to the point. I absolutely like Benedict Cumberbatch. It's basically like an Iron Man movie because he's starting like he like loses everything and then comes back from it and stuff. So Wong is awesome. I think they use him so well. He is hilarious and he's really good. Like he's like a really clever character. He's kind of like Doctor Strange's sidekick at this point. I love that. I want Wong. I want more Wong, dude. So yeah, so Doctor Strange is fun. I do love the Dormammu. The threat of Dormammu is really cool. The fight scenes where like they're fighting on like the walls and stuff is super sick. Like the fact that they're like the visuals in that movie are insane, dude. They're absolutely insane. The final fight with Dormammu was awesome because he doesn't fight him with like brawn. Doctor Strange, like some people calculated, spent over 1 million years fighting Dormammu because he just kept repeating. It was a time loop, right? And he essentially just bored Dormammu to death. So Dormammu just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of this time loop. I will agree to not do something. Like, what do you want? He's like, don't attack us and we're chilling. Like that was such a cool concept of how to fight the final boss. And Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is one of the highlights of the future movies too. The original Avengers. The original Avengers was, at the time, a pretty big deal. However, Loki, kind of okay. The threat, those big things that attacked New York, kind of easy to defeat in the end, you know? It was an easy thing to destroy. Like, it wasn't that hard. I don't know. That's just me, though. Captain America's outfit from Avengers is easily his worst. It's easily his worst costume. I hated it. Yeah, it was way too bright. It doesn't even look like something that like a soldier would even, like, it's awful. I think my favorite scene in that whole movie, I love when Tony Stark says, "We have a Hulk." Like that line is just so cool because they bring it back later in Infinity War. I'll talk about that in a second. I love callbacks to stuff like that. I'm gonna put Black Panther in B tier. B for Black Panther. Maybe a controversial take because some people really liked it. I genuinely really liked it. I did feel like the movie overall was okay. I think Killmonger was an awesome villain. Like I love Michael B. Jordan. I'm kind of sad that he died off at the end because he could have been a really good recurring villain or someone that maybe is like an anti-hero later. Like he was, I just like Killmonger. Like you feel for him. I think one of the most powerful scenes in that movie was when Killmonger is like finally becomes the Black Panther or like the leader, right? And then he like goes to his like childhood apartment. He's like a child and sees his dad. That whole scene is just so depressing because like his dad got killed, you know? He was never given the right to be part of Wakanda and stuff. So the message is there. The message is powerful. And I do very much really enjoy Black Panther overall. The CGI fight scene was kind of bad. Not a big fan of that part. Third act is just really bad for me. I think it falls apart. Like the movie's like an A-tier movie and then falls apart in the third act. I don't want to rewatch Black Panther's fight scenes because they're just not that like they're not that great at the end, man. Okay, so Spider-Man Homecoming I put on the top of beats here. I do like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. And this movie is really good. It introduces the Vulture. Ugh, I can't lie, this is A-tier. This is bottom A-tier. So Michael Keaton as the Vulture turned one of the campiest, corniest villains ever in comics. Like if you ever seen the Vulture, what he looked like in the comics, you would laugh. He just looks so dumb. Like, look at this guy, bro. He's a dweeb. Like he's so lame. He's one of the lamest. They turned him into one of the most menacing villains ever. I freaking loved it, dude. One of the best scenes in that movie is like the big twist reveal that Michael Keaton is actually his like love interest's dad, right? And so he opens the door. So at first I was like, did he kidnap her? But no, he's just like living his life. Like I like villains with clear motivations. Like they're not villains. Like they're not bad guys. He's doing bad stuff because he had to. He was put into a bad situation because he needed to take care of his family and stuff. That's why he works as a villain. When bad guys have motivations, that's why Killmonger works. That's why the Vulture works. So the Vulture is like awesome. And like that scene where he's picking, where he basically drives his daughter and Peter to Homecoming and like he discovers in the car ride that he's Spider-Man. That's such a good scene. It's like so tense. Spider-Man has nothing to fear in that car. It's Spider-Man. Even if he pulls a gun on him, he can like easily deflect. He's fast enough to like get away from that situation. But he's still afraid because there's a power dynamic that like exists as he's a kid. You have to remember, Spider-Man is a high school kid. There's a power imbalance there. Adults are scary when they like put you in positions like that. Spider-Man has nothing to fear from this guy. Peter Parker is afraid of this guy. Introduces Flash Thompson, introduces his best friend, it introduces MJ. The teachers are really funny in this. I overall really liked this rendition, this interpretation of Spider-Man. I think it's really good. Iron Man's gonna go here next. The original Iron Man is really, really good. Is it the best movie they've put out? No. I do think the original Iron Man had a little bit of its own problems. Obadiah Stane is a good villain, but also kind of a forgettable villain. The beginning is amazing. The part like where he gets out of the cave is amazing. The part when he builds the Iron Man suit is amazing. It's the third acts that it kind of falls apart to an extent. It's still good. It still has an overall decent ending, but it established the entire MCU. And Jon Favreau and Kevin Feige took a astronomical sized risk casting Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. If you don't know who Robert Downey Jr. was before, it makes sense because Robert Downey Jr. was an actor, the son of an already famous actor who had a couple critically acclaimed roles and then became a drug addict and had to overcome this drug addiction that he had. And so he managed to finally come clean, but most people didn't want to cast him because it was a risk. It was considered like a genuine risk, especially for a long-term role like that. But Jon Favreau really pushed for Robert Downey Jr. You cannot thank Jon Favreau enough for that push. That push got us all these movies. It got us the MCU. I don't think Iron Man would have been as cool of a character without Robert Downey Jr. specifically playing him. But Thor Ragnarok, right here. Thor Ragnarok is great. It is the best Thor by landslides. It is the best Thor because Taika Waititi is a freaking genius when it comes to comedy writing. If you don't know who Taika Waititi is, you should know who he is. He his more recent film he made was Jojo Rabbit, and he turned, in my opinion, the most boring, the most lame Avenger, Thor, into one of the funniest, enjoyable Avengers by far. Taika Waititi also had the ability to help mold Hulk into what he is because Hulk was featured heavily in this movie as well. Yeah, to see the Hulk like be used this well was awesome. I love all the side characters and stuff. The only downside this movie has, unfortunately, is the main villain, his sister, like Hilda, I forget her name. She's just evil for evil's sake. A good bad guy doesn't think they're the bad guy, you know what I mean? But like she's clearly evil. Like she knew she was evil. Like it's just not even funny. So I think Thor Ragnarok is awesome. And Thor Ragnarok was the final movie that we got before Infinity War, and it led up to Infinity War perfectly. It made Hulk a lot better. It made Thor a lot better. It made Loki awesome. Loki was amazing in that movie. Jeff Goldblum's in the movie. That alone should make it S tier, but like I said, the villain's not that good. Mid A tier is Thor Ragnarok. I'm gonna put Captain America Civil War in A tier. There was a lot going on in this movie. That's the kind of the problem I have. You have Baron Zemo pulling the strings in the background, convincing Tony Stark to hate like Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I always kind of thought it was annoying that it's pretty clear that the Winter Soldier was brainwashed, Tony. You're smart enough to know that this man was brainwashed into killing your parents. Why are you so mad at him? He was literally not the person that killed your parents. Hydra killed your parents. He's just the vessel. He was brainwashed. Like the final fight was so it was so forced, and it didn't matter because then they became buddy like right in Infinity War / Endgame. So like it didn't even matter. So like it's one of those things where like Civil War was cool, but its overall ending didn't really amount to much. It did help Ant-Man and the Wasp because it made Ant-Man kind of like a fugitive, like he had to be like in house arrest and stuff. So it did set that up a bit, and it did introduce Spider-Man very well, and it introduced Black Panther very well. So I think in general it's still a fun movie. I just think that ending just was so forced. Everything else was really fun and really cool. Civil War's up here, A tier. Spider-Man Far From Home, that's the top of A tier. To be the first movie that is right after Endgame was so difficult. You had a hard time there, but they turned one of my personal favorite villains, Mysterio, into an even cooler villain. Jake Gyllenhaal, such a good casting choice. He is so menacing. That scene is one of the best scenes in all of Marvel's history. He's like in his head basically, and those visuals it was insane. I loved it. And like the train hits him at the end. Oh my God. Nick Fury's in this movie, and you know, Nick Fury being in any movie makes it better. The silly hijinks in the background, like the teachers are so funny. This movie's hilarious by far. It's one of the funniest. They explain like the 5-year gap that happened because they disappeared because of Endgame. They explain it really well. If they make it more funny, they call it the blip. It's like it's pretty funny how they do talk about it and how it's affected people. So yeah, I think overall this is just a really good movie, and the villain was awesome. They brought back the guy that Obadiah Stane yelled at in Iron Man 1, and that was awesome. That alone made it worth it, bro. That was so cool. Like what a choice. I really enjoyed this movie. I think as a follow-up to Endgame, it was going to be difficult, but I do like how Tony Stark's death affected Spider-Man, and I do like how it affected the world overall. I like Jake Gyllenhaal and the fact that they included that a bunch of different characters from the previous movies. God, Mysterio's so cool. They made Mysterio cool. Like Mysterio's usually kind of like lame, but I love him. They made him cool, and I respect that. Okay, guys, controversial takes here. Endgame is at the bottom of S tier. It's a good movie. Not a fan of time travel, but it's a good movie. I think Infinity War as a movie is just so much more impactful, but I do feel like this is a perfect conclusion. This is why it's still S tier. It's phenomenal. Third act carries it so much. And as a Captain America fan, as I've explained multiple times, he's my baby boy. I love my boy Captain America. When he picks up Mjolnir, the hammer, I think I cried. like man tears, like excitement tears. It was the most epic thing. My nerdy childhood brain could not handle it. It was so freaking awesome. And then Iron Man's death, of course, I cried. It was it's a conclusion. It was a perfect conclusion for Captain America and Iron Man. And I think it's a good movie. It's a phenomenal movie. I just think it's a little bit worse than the next couple movies here. Captain America Winter Soldier is not only one of the best superhero movies, but one of the best spy movies ever. The elevator scene alone is why this thing's an S tier, dude. This is what made Captain America cool. See, Captain America, the first Avenger, introduced us to Captain America. Kind of a dweeb, but we like him. This is what made him cool. Like, holy crap. Captain America Winter Soldier is a dope spy movie. It gives me goosebumps, bro. And it's one of those things, like, it has like a political commentary to an extent where it's like, what does Captain America represent? Does he represent America? And in that case, does he represent like the entire government? But he doesn't agree with the entire government at times, you know? His arc perfectly builds to Civil War because at that point, after Winter Soldier, he has problems with the government and stuff. Like, he has disagreements now. He got rid of the shield at the end of Civil War because he doesn't want to represent this America if this is what it's going to be like. Like, it's kind of like the message is awesome. Like, it means a lot to see someone like Captain America, like, just because he represents more than just America. He represents like the moral ideals, the moral high ground that is supposed to be America. And if our government isn't doing what he thinks is deemed right, he's gonna defy it, you know? So that's why I freaking love this movie. Like, he's just awesome. And also, Nick Fury's in it. And like I said, if Nick Fury's in the movie, it's infinitely better. Okay, up next we got Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Don't at me, I know a lot of people don't like this movie, but Guardians of the Galaxy are my favorite Marvel characters, my favorite Marvel movies in general. I think Guardians of the Galaxy hit at home the most. In this particular movie, I did cry when Yondu passed away, when Yondu goes like, he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy. Like, the Yondu redemption arc was, God, Yondu, dude. Soundtrack's amazing. Ego is one of the best Marvel villains ever, dude. I loved him as a villain. The introduction of Mantis is really cool. God, I really liked Volume 2. I watched it so many times. I rewatched it all the time. It's one of my favorite movies ever, like ever made. Like, I genuinely love it. I know a lot of people don't like it as a sequel. Maybe they don't enjoy it as much as the first one, but I think it's really good. Baby Groot is amazing. Baby Groot's hilarious and adorable. Like, there's so much going for this movie, man. I don't see like how you couldn't have a fun time. Up next is Avengers Infinity War. Infinity War is phenomenal. Avengers Infinity War has such awesome scenes. I literally got up in my seat when Captain America saves Vision in that train, in like the train scene. Like, the train passes, it goes like dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And then like the guy throws like a spear, and then Captain America's like, nah, psych, bro. He catches it, and he's, oh, my heart, because I literally thought Vision was gonna die right then and there, and I was like, no, Vision, no. Then he comes in perfect timing, and like, God, what? That's how you introduce a character, bro. The whole space scene with Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and the Guardians is just perfect. That dynamic's amazing. That fight scene with Thanos, the fight scene between Thanos and Iron Man, the way that like Thanos almost respects Iron Man is kind of awesome. I genuinely love that Thanos knows who Stark is, because he had to. Like, people were like, why does he know who Tony Stark is? My guy, he's the guy that nuked your entire fleet in space. You're gonna know who Iron Man is, bro. You're gonna know who Tony Stark is. He's literally the human being that almost destroyed your entire operation. Thor's entrance in Infinity War, bring me Thanos, just like comes in. Oh my God, that was so cool. And then like Black Panther, they like fighting in Wakanda is so cool. The fact that like Vision is a pivotal part of it is awesome, and like it leads into WandaVision even better. Like, the movie just got better because of WandaVision. God, I love that movie, dude. I think Doctor Strange is used perfectly in that movie. I think like he's even cooler in that movie too. Wong is hilarious. And then the snap, of course, the snap, the iconic Thanos snap. Bro, in theaters, you see like Spider-Man, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. God, that scene is so good. Walking out of theaters being like so sad. I'm like, I have to wait a whole year to know what happens. Okay, so Guardians of the Galaxy is the best movie Marvel's ever made. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, what? Why? I saw this movie 6 times in theaters. I'm not gonna lie. It is my favorite movie. The soundtrack is great. Let's go watch the trailer, just to give you guys just an idea of the anticipation that Guardians of the Galaxy gave you. Let's just watch the trailer. The movie is funny as hell, dude. I don't know. I can't even explain how good it is. This ragtag group of people become a family. That scene when Groot saves them all and goes, "We are Groot," it hits you right in the feels. It does have a downside being the villain, but I don't care because the movie's a comedy more than anything, and it does it so freaking well, dude. Drax is hilarious in this movie. It's like it goes over his head. It's like, nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too quick. Like that kind of, those kind of jokes. So good. Dance off, bro. Just me and you. The dance off at the end is hilarious. I love Rocket Raccoon. Bradley Cooper playing Rocket Raccoon. Vin Diesel playing Groot. Dave Bautista, first ever acting role, popped off as Drax. Yeah, repping the Filipinos out there. Where my Filipinos at? Let's get some lumpias in the chat. I wish I could. Actually, I should get a lumpia emote. My wife's Filipina, by the way. She makes some of the best. Sorry, her mother makes some of the best lumpia. Not her. My wife doesn't cook much Filipino food. So yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna end the stream.